Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Red Devil's Den podcast. I'm filling in for Reese as your host today, and we're going to be talking about events at United this past week. Let's start with a happy note. Ronaldo's homecoming. Vin, was it everything you expected?
Yep, couldn't complain. Yeah, I mean, it was expected that there was obviously this initial fear that we're gonna get carried away with the fact that Ronaldo's coming home and the emotions is gonna, make a mess out of the meal that was Newcastle, but that didn't happen. First half was kind of all right, I'd say. Got the opening goal, scrappy, but you'll take it anyways, right? Because it's Ronaldo who's scoring ultimately. And then the second half, Newcastle equalized, but even then, there wasn't much of a fear or there wasn't a panic button that was being pressed at all because we've seen it time and time again. If when the opponent equalizes, we often come back and we plunder 2 3 goals, which is exactly what we did. And so all in all, from then on, it was a very good day out in the park. Everyone was happy, everyone was joyful, and top of the table. Can't complain.
Absolutely. Darth, what do you think?
Yeah, that was weird. The first half was kind of like a slog. We knew it was going to be tough because Newcastle don't really attack anyone. But to get the goal right on halftime kind of went, okay, it's fine. And then, yeah, as you said, Newcastle scored, but it was like the Leeds goal. When Leeds scored, I was just like, okay, but can we keep a clean sheet for like once, please? It just seems to be someone's cause.
It's funny that the one match we did keep a clean sheet, Wolves, was probably the one where they had the best chances against us.
Yeah, they should have, like, sometimes you get your luck, right? But yeah, we're top of the table on goal difference. And weird to say, 4 games in, despite it being 4 games in, we're going to win the league, lads.
Yeah, I just put out a tweet earlier today that United's 10 points from 4 matches is joint with 2017-18 as our best start to the Premier League season in the past 10 years, including when we won the league under Sir Alex in 2012-13. So it's definitely been a positive start in the league. It's great to have Ronaldo back, as Vin was saying, just the euphoria of him scoring. And you never really felt like the result was in doubt, but obviously Ronaldo's not the same player that he was when he left, and so I wanted to see what do you guys think of the new Ronaldo, the role that he's playing in the team. Vin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much expected. Like, I expect him to be as a proper number 9, so to speak, in the box, center forward. Gone are the days where Ronaldo would flash up and down the left and right wings. It's not the same player anymore. He's 36 years old, so you expect him to have less of that electric pace that he had when he was at United before. Yeah, and that's exactly where Ollie put him up top. He said that before after the Wolves game as well. I want to see him in the box. I want to see him score goals around that area, and that's exactly what he did. And the second goal, however, just showed that, even at 36, he still got the pace when needed. He doesn't sort of use it from time to time, but when he needs to, he does have that a bit of that pace. You saw that, when Shaw had the ball, we were going forward. You could see the pace of Ronaldo. I think I saw it somewhere. I think the speed that he clocked was about 20 miles, 20 kilometers per hour, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so that just goes to show he's not entirely like just a tortoise. He's not someone who's going to be in the box all the time. When he needs to use the pace, he can. So that's obviously a good indicator for us. And in the box, we know how much of a lethal goal scorer he is, and he's shown it already. 3 goals in 2 games so far. So kind of what I expected, and it's good for us. We've got our options up top now.
Darth,
Yes.
what do you think?
Yeah, it's good to see. Love to see Ronaldo. But yeah, as been said, he's not his flamboyant winger. And there was a thread about it on why he's now a lethal striker is something to do with his knee issue that he had. There's like I've seen a massive thread on it. He got a chronic knee issue. They didn't recover from, so he lost his pace. Lost it. Evidently against Newcastle, no, but you know what I mean? He can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so,
funny. I
yeah.
look at Ronaldo in our team now, and I think back to the player that he was when he was first here. And when I do, I see there are two things that kind of defined him as a player. There was the pace and the step overs with the wide play, and then there was those finishes from ridiculous angles. And when I kind of look at Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood, I see parts of that in each of them, but not all of it. Where Greenwood, I mean, he does do step overs now and again, but he's not as much of a bag of tricks. He's not as pacey
Just
as Ronaldo was,
finish.
but his finishing is
His finishing.
absolutely
Yeah.
insane. Whereas Sancho's finishing is maybe a little bit more questionable. His runs sometimes into the box, but you look at those step overs, the pace out wide, and it reminds you of a young Ronaldo. So we've kind of got those dimensions from other players. The thing that Ronaldo you lose with, sorry, I should compare with Edinson Cavani, who was our starting striker last season. Ronaldo gives you nothing defensively. He's an absolute liability in that part of the field, and we know that. But what he gives you is the ball control for that second goal. The way that he was able to control the ball that came in from Luke Shaw and then get it into his feet so that he could take that shot. And, you could argue about Woodman's role in the goal, but ultimately that kind of little bit of special touch, that little bit of quality, that can win you matches. And it was just great to see it back at our club and not being used against us.
I want to bring up a point though.
Go for it.
What made me laugh is Gary Neville for ages like, why don't United get Kane? Why don't United get Kane? United get Kane, get Kane. So we go and sign one of the most lethal finishes in world football, like up there with the best of the best. And then he goes, I don't think Ronaldo's a good fit for United. What?
Okay. The thing with Gary
Backtracked.
Neville is
I was like,
he's trying his very level best. Ever since he's joined punditry, he's been trying his level best to be unbiased towards United. We've seen that time and time again where he unnecessarily criticizes United. I don't know what the logic is. My sort of estimation is that he's trying to be as unbiased towards United as he can, which it doesn't make sense anymore. I can understand when he started punditry, but you're like so many years into it. It's fine. We get it.
have you not seen
simpler than that?
Jamie Carragher? Have you not seen Jerry Carragher like nosh off Liverpool
Yeah,
anytime
exactly.
they
So I'm
play? Like,
let it go.
bro.
I mean, you're not gonna get criticized. We're not gonna hammer you if you say anything like for us all the time. It's fine. I mean,
I think it's simpler than that. I think if you look at his commentary, there was a shift when Ollie came in as manager. Before that, I remember at one point he said, "This is the least likable Manchester United team I can remember in my lifetime."
yeah.
And then that was the late Mourinho days. And then now he's saying, well, they're a little bit short. I don't think they'll quite win it. They'll finish in the top three, things like that. I think he's just trying to decrease pressure on his friend. And honestly, that's a function that our ex-players in the media should be playing. So I'm okay with that.
See, I have another theory on what Ollie kind of does with Gary and Roy Keane. Now, Ollie never, ever, ever talks ill of the Glazers. Never has in press conferences, never, But I reckon he texts Roy Keane and Gary Neville, go, say this for me, do this. You know what I mean? Like, say this in punditry so people listen.
Might not even be like that explicit. He might just feed them information that leads them in that direction.
Yeah, he might not even do it, but it's my theory because they're his friends. It's known Keane and Ollie still talk. Neville and Ollie still talk is widely known. But yeah, I think they do a little bit of his work, like dirty work for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like speaking out against the owners like Joel and Avram. He probably obviously he can't do it like in press conferences directly. So one way could be is to sort of get hold of his mates in the punditry world and say, okay, you know what, just say a thing or two. Like you said, exactly what you said. I think that could be one way of sort of applying pressure indirectly on the owners, on the board, and saying, oh, I need this player in the market. But, sure, he can say it directly. I'm sure it happens internally. But there is a point where you sort of need the external pressure in the media as well. And I think through his mates, he does that. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
There's absolutely no doubt that Ollie has the opportunity and definitely uses the media to make points that he can't necessarily make himself, being an employee of the club and having certain expectations of keeping calm, both managing up and down, right? He's not just the manager of the players. He's also the guy who has to deal with Ed Woodward, the Glazers, John Murtaugh, everyone sitting above his head. You manage up and down. So obviously it's understood that his role is more expansive than we think on that. We spent a little bit of time, about 10 minutes on Newcastle now. I think I want to get into the debacle that was Young Boys away. Our midweek match in the Champions League started so promisingly with Ronaldo scoring his third goal in 2 matches on his return. A beautiful assist from Bruno Fernandes. Aaron Wan-Bissaka gets sent off for what was a clear red, honestly. It was a bad tackle. You can blame concentration or whatever you want. And, United go down to 10 men, and then everything goes to shit from there. And we see at the end that Jesse Lingard tops it off with the shit cherry on top with the back pass that gives them the winning goal. So,
what a
Vin,
pass.
tell me why we should be optimistic.
What a pass.
Yeah, Jesse Lingard got an assist. I suppose that's something we should be happy about.
It worked. I mean, he's in hot form. 1 goal, 1 assist in 2 games.
Absolutely.
Oh, Lord.
Nah, but I mean, in all seriousness, obviously there isn't any reason to be sort of optimistic about the result or the performance. You could say, I guess, the first half where we got the opening goal and Ronaldo had another chance after that to make it 2, if you remember. He had a shot sort of one-on-one against keeper, and then he just hit it straight to him. It is a difficult angle, I get it, but
I'm sure it was fouled in that, but it is what it is.
Oh no, that's the penalty though, right?
It wasn't a penalty. He was
the second half
barely
thing.
touched him.
That wasn't a penalty, in my opinion, too. Yeah.
It's a pen.
That's
the kind of pen. If you give that as a penalty, you're going to be giving every team 20 penalties a season.
I don't care. I want rivals tears. I need.
I didn't know. It was a soft push from the back.
You've seen them given, right?
We've seen them given when VAR was giving any contact as a penalty, but ultimately it's a semi-contact sport, and the fact that they touched barely, he didn't push him, he didn't even lean into him. He was just standing his ground.
It was a soft nudge of the elbow from the back, but again, it's a soft nudge, and given how the refereeing has sort of changed this season, I wasn't surprised that it wasn't given a penalty. Like last season, this would have been a penalty. But this season, given the way they've sort of decided to be a bit more lenient and let the game flow.
I don't even think last season you get that given the majority of the time.
I
think it was very questionable.
I'll send you a clip later of I just watched the Rangers Leon game, and one of the Rangers players about like a couple of inches, like this far away from the Leon player, right?
Okay.
The Leon player falls down, and the ref gives a foul to for Leon, and I'm like, what? Like next.
Well, you have to assume they're managed by Steven Gerrard, so the referee is assuming that they're going to play like dirty, lying, cheating Scousers.
But I mean, anyways, coming back to the game, right? So first half was okay, and then the red card happened. So automatically you're thinking, okay. And just to be clear, when a team goes a man down, the natural reaction or the natural instinct is to preserve your lead or to preserve a draw scoreline, right? If it's 1-1, you preserve that. You go back and you be a bit more defensive, right? We've seen occasions where teams have continued to attack and teams have continued to be expansive and be progressive and then get smashed by 4 or 5 goals ultimately at the end of it. So for those saying that Ollie's approach to go back was to sort of sit back and preserve the lead or the scoreline was wrong, well, then you're wrong. I'm sorry. Because that's what happens when you go a man down. You ultimately, and look at Thomas Tuchel, for example, against Liverpool. Irrespective of the opposition, whether it's Young Boys, whether it's Liverpool, if you're playing away from home, when the home crowd is in the stadium, the natural reaction is to sit back and just take away the point and go home. That's what it is. And that's exactly what he did. The substitutions could be wrong. Make no mistake. There's a difference in agreeing with the approach and agreeing with the substitutions. Now, with the substitutions, I felt that he should have kept either of Ronaldo and Bruno and not take both of them off, in my opinion. But otherwise, as for the approach, I wouldn't put that on him. I think it was the right approach for me.
Talking about the red cards, can we insert Brighton versus Man City, where they lose 3-2 after getting a man sent off, and West Brom 5-2 versus Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, where Thiago Silva got sent off?
In football, you can lose. There's no doubt that if you try to attack after going down a man, there's a risk involved with that. So for me, I was supportive of the idea of taking an attacker or a midfielder, an attacking mid, I should say, off at halftime.
Yeah.
And going with Varane coming on, because I don't think Diogo Dalot is good enough defensively. So I think Ollie got it right in the first half, putting on Dalot for Sancho to add a right back. I think he got it right at halftime, switching to what was effectively a 3-5-1 formation.
Yeah.
So that was fine. The place that I have a problem is with the approach that we had in the second half after that. I'm not saying you go all out attack. 3-5-1 is the right setup, but we have to try to play football. We have to try to have possession, move forward, build up play. And United had absolutely no intention of doing that in the second half.
The issue was
basically showed up. Sorry, Darth, I'm going to finish the point and then you can go.
Yeah, that's fine.
United basically showed up in the second half and said, okay, we're going to pretend that we are managed by Sean Dyche, by Big Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis, take your pick of the Brexit dinosaur managers. We're going to show up in the second half. We're going to have 3-5-1 with Ronaldo standing up top. And we're basically just going to get the ball and kick it out long to Ronaldo when he's surrounded by 3 young boys defenders over and over and over again. And with that approach, you're not going to accomplish anything. You're just diffusing pressure, and then it comes back upon you, and you keep repeating the cycle. And for me, that was the wrong decision. There are teams who go down to 10 men. Just try to keep the ball. Like, I'm not saying you have to play attacking football. Play Louis van Gaal football. Just pass it from Lindelof to Varane to Maguire over and over again. And that's a good way of playing defensive football. But by giving them the ball back and then trying to defend without possession, you end up in a position where you give them opportunities to score, and then eventually they do.
So the issue is when you go down to 10 men and you try and play possession football, they will always have that extra man. So you could pass it to Pogba, who's really good at holding the ball. We know he's strong, he's athletic, he's really good at holding the ball, but he'll have 2 players on him. So how's he?
So here's the problem with that, right? If you're playing a 3-5-1 formation, then what you've got is the extra man that they have should be with their defenders matched up with our forward. So it should be harder for us to play the final ball because they've got an extra defender on Ronaldo. But the problem is in midfield, it should be a similar numbers matchup as it would be 11 versus 11. Now you could say, oh, well, what if they put 2 players on Bruno Fernandes? Then Ronaldo's one-on-one with a defender, play the ball to him. Ultimately, they can only double team one person.
It's a difficult thing because, again, the moment Wan-Bissaka got sent off, the crowd sensed something could happen. So the players felt that and went, oh, we can get something here. And then our players felt it because it was a hostile environment. I've never seen it. Like, the only places that really are hostile for environments are Turkey. Turkey's a horrible place to go.
There's a Galatasaray, they have the banner, welcome to hell.
Yeah, right. Or Liverpool on a Saturday night. Anyway.
I would say even Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah, yeah.
Lethal atmosphere, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But this isn't any of those countries. This is Switzerland. They're known for surrendering.
But then, again, young boys deserve to be in the Champions League. They're not. The Champions League opposition, whether they're better than us or worse than us, they deserve to be in the Champions League for what they've done. So you have to beat what's in front of you. We didn't, but up until the red card, young boys didn't offer anything, right? There wasn't anything they offered. Like, we looked like we'd score more. And if it wasn't for the red card, which it happens, players make mistakes. I'm not going to be like, oh, he's bad, let's get Dalot in. Reece would have a field day.
That's why Reece isn't on the pod. It's not a recording issue. We just didn't want Reece on the pod with Diogo Dalot being discussed.
Yeah, the one time Dalot actually plays, Reece isn't here. So
he's gonna play next week. So or the week after that, the next game. So
maybe.
Anyways, the point is, if Jesse Lingard doesn't make that howler of a pass, which is what it was, we would be having a different conversation.
No, we wouldn't. I really don't think we would, because a draw at Young Boys is still a horrific result.
The moment,
given the circumstances, I don't think it was.
The moment Wan-Bissaka got sent off, I said a draw is okay here.
Yeah.
With 10 men, you can argue that a draw would be okay, but it's still not a good result. We end up in a situation, and also it's not even just the result as much as it is the tactics for me. In the
Mhm.
72nd minute, we made a double substitution. Nemanja Matic and Jesse Lingard came on for Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo. After
So
that, for 15 minutes until the 87th minute when Martial came on for Fred, United's setup was 5 at the back, a midfield of Pogba, Matic, and Fred, and then Jesse Lingard as a lone striker.
the issue
Let
is
that sink in for a second.
I can see why he picked Lingard, right? Because Lingard presses and run. His work rate's insane, and I love him for it. I can see why Matic, experienced head, calm,
So
is
here's the problem, though. It's just all incoherent, right? Sorry, give me 1 second, Darth. At the start of the second half, you decide to sit back, and then you end up with Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes up top, which is no pace and no pressing. In the case of Ronaldo, with no pressing, and then with Bruno.
sub one of them for Lingard.
So you could have done that at halftime, though, right? I'm talking about in the 45 to 72nd minute, that was the setup. Then we're still sitting deep, and you put on someone who presses, but we're not playing pressing football, so I don't understand that. And then, okay, fine, we settled for the draw. We're going to take the result. In the 87th minute, you take off a defensive midfielder for a striker? I thought we were settling for the draw. It just those three things don't all go together.
Yeah, no, the Martial sub, I was a bit like,
Yeah.
even
I
that
agree with
confused. But I was like,
I mean,
did we have a defender on the bench? Bailly was
Bailly
on
was
the bench?
available.
I was there, yeah.
Could have thrown him on.
Yeah, I mean that's what, right? Like I was in agreement with the Ronaldo sub as much as everyone on Twitter was like hammering and saying this and that. But
the issue is, I think Ollie learned from Spurs last year when we got spanked 7-1, 6-1.
after the red card, yeah.
Yes, that's where I'll go. I think Ollie learned his lesson of he tried to play attacking against Spurs, and look what happened there.
Yeah, and I mean, and it nearly worked. It almost worked until that pass.
Look, I totally understand the idea of playing for a draw when you're playing against Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, when you go down to 10 men. What I don't even Brighton, honestly, I could understand that given their Premier League side.
Young Premier League side.
What was that? Any Premier League side? Yeah, well, maybe not Watford or Norwich, but
no, it's still because
the idea of doing it against young boys, though, in a group where we have two difficult sides coming up, it rubbed me the wrong way, and it brought up bigger questions. So moving from the match to Europe in general, there's a stat that's been going around that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has lost 7 of his 11 matches in the Champions League. Just putting some context on that, though. 6 of those matches were against PSG or Barcelona, and that's Lionel Messi's Barcelona, not the Ronald Koeman clown show of today. So it's understandable that there were issues against those teams. But if we take those away, let's just talk about Leipzig, Istanbul, Başakşehir, and Young Boys yesterday. And you end up in a situation where United have lost 3 matches out of 5 against those teams. And that's concerning, wouldn't you say?
Not. I mean, in the other half of the Leipzig game, did we not batter them 5-0?
Okay, let's maybe be a little bit more specific then. Away games. We lost away to Leipzig 3-2. We lost away to Istanbul Başakşehir 2-1. We lost away to Young Boys 2-1.
Okay, that's fine. We can talk about away games.
All right, that's fair. That's a fair criticism to sort of make. Like, away games in the Champions League, there might be a bit of an issue that needs.
It's ironic given our run in the Premier League is so good at away games.
It's such a weird. Yeah, that's. I know you're not.
If you think about it, it's away from home against not so big teams. Like, with all due respect to Leipzig and Istanbul and Young Boys, they're not.
Hold on.
Bigger than...
Leipzig played great football under Nagelsmann, and watch out for Jesse Marsch.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Believe me, I don't have a problem with Leipzig necessarily on its own. The problem is it fits in with the loss in Istanbul, the loss in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So what I get is the narrative. Nah. The issue is, right, would Young Boys beat Watford? I have a question. Would Young Boys beat Watford?
I think they would.
Yeah.
I think Young Boys Watford would be a close run match. I don't think either team would get the win there. I think.
All right. Watford go down to 10 men. Who wins?
Young Boys.
There we go.
But we're not Watford. We're Manchester United. That's the problem.
That's not the point.
The problem is we're using Watford tactics against them as though we are Watford, and we're not.
Okay. When you go down to 10 men, you don't play the name, you play the situation, which is what we tried to do. And it
The situation
almost
is
worked,
we had
but
one of
didn't.
the greatest goal scorers in the history of the game, one
Who
of the
isn't gonna
highest scoring
press?
midfielders.
Do you want him to press up front? No, he's not gonna press.
Then as the manager, you can substitute him if you don't think he's worth having in a
Yeah, but
10-man
for who?
situation.
Greenwood, who doesn't press neither.
Mason Greenwood can press. I mean, you could have put on Jesse Lingard if you wanted just pressing, or like in the 45th minute.
But it's a difficult situation. You play the situation, and if Lingard doesn't play that hospital pass, if Wan-Bissaka doesn't get sent off, we win, or we come with a draw, right?
I think we end up in that classic situation though, where
if buts and no coconuts.
Well, that, or also that if my grandmother had balls, she'd be my grandfather,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly, that's what we mean, right? I mean, look, it is what it is.
If my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bike. Yeah.
I mean, not doing anything and not making any substitutions would have been way, way worse, right?
Oh, yeah.
Look, there are certain risks that you need to take in a situation like this. Sometimes they come off, sometimes they don't.
Like a certain
Ollie
Southgate
did go
for
for a
England.
method. Ollie went for an approach. He made the substitutions with that approach in mind. It almost worked, but then it did. So those things, like he said, those things do happen. Could it have been better? Yes, it could have. Ideally, I would have kept Bruno on the pitch, and I would have definitely taken off Ronaldo for Lingard. Maybe I would have brought on Bai, I guess. But again, in hindsight, there are so many things that can be done and that shouldn't have been done. We can say a lot of these things, but it is what it is. And
we can say we can do this, this, and this, but we're just guys talking on podcasts. Ollie's actually doing it. So Ollie sees him in training every day.
Yeah, but as guys talking on a podcast, our job is to not only discuss the great positives of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reign at the club so far.
Exactly, right?
Also,
I'll criticize
criticism. For me, every decision that was made after the substitution to put on Rafael Varane at halftime, up until then, I was with it. Every decision tactically and every substitution after that, I question. So the entire second half, the game management for me was a massive problem. What I will say, though, is that doesn't mean that the manager has to go. You see people on Twitter saying, if you criticize Ollie, it means you're Ollie out. No, it just means that he needs to do better in certain situations. I still support the manager. And just one last thing. The best people are the ones who say, bring in Antonio Conte. Antonio Conte's record in Europe is absolutely abysmal, as bad or worse than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's.
He finished third, but finished last behind Shakhtar the next.
He finished last in the group behind Shakhtar Donetsk, so he's crashed out. We went into the Europa League last season. He finished bottom of the group in the same season that he won the league, so you can argue that he's a better domestic manager, arguably, but we're top of our league, so you can't really say that, can you? You look at his history prior to that, we lost the Europa League final last season. He lost the Europa League final to Sevilla the year before. So Antonio Conte, you can argue that he is an improvement for United in some ways. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not saying that he is. But the one thing that's clear is in Europe, he is an absolute disaster. We've seen that at multiple clubs now.
I don't want him near United. He will literally burn it to the ground. Look, like Inter are a mess now, by the way.
They've got their financial issues as well. Let's not get into a conversation about managerial replacements. Potentially, we're nowhere near that. We're top of the league.
Yeah,
it's silly to be talking about manager's position.
For those raving about Conte, he plays a 3-5-2 almost every other time. So
3-5-2 would never work. Yeah,
figure it out.
So anyway, we have West Ham on Sunday.
Yeah, I was about to say we've been on Young Boys for a little while. Moving on to West Ham, they're without Mikel Antonio, their best goal scorer, and they played today Souček, Rice, and Aaron Cresswell again in the Europa League. So that means we have the advantage in terms of rest, in terms of the fact that we played on Tuesday and they played today, so on Thursday. So that's definitely going to play in our favor as well. What are your expectations like for this match?
Go. I think West Ham are always a hard game. Like no matter what anyone says, especially the West Ham ground, Olympic Stadium. I'm not sure what it's
Olympic
called.
Stadium.
Yeah. They're always difficult. No matter what anyone says, they can beat big teams. They can lose to big teams. It's crazy, but we should have enough about us to beat them. And I'm gonna go 3-1 United. They'll score at some point, and we'll reply quickly.
After a midweek disappointment, we absolutely have to get the win.
Oh yeah,
Vin, what do you think?
I think
Yeah,
Ronaldo scores
absolutely.
again.
Yeah, I mean, again, West Ham is one of those cagey fixtures. We know how Moyes is going to set up. He's going to be a bit defensive, and especially with Antonio not playing, even more reason for him to sort of not play expansive football. You could expect the likes of Ben Rama or Jared Bowen for them to play as a striker. They could play as a false nine, maybe. But yeah, for us, we absolutely have to come back with a win. There's no question about it. Just to like uplift the mood from the midweek disappointment and continue to be on top of the table in the league. Chelsea play Tottenham and Liverpool play Crystal Palace, I think.
That's
So
correct.
Chelsea, there is
Palace away as well,
it is
isn't
an
it?
opportunity for Chelsea to slip up, maybe. Liverpool, you can expect them to win, so we have to continue to maintain our sort of status in the table. So for that, getting 3 points is vital. Um, yeah, like that said, there's an opportunity for Ronaldo to score a goal again against West Ham. Our defense should be a lot better. I mean, we should be able to cope better with their forward, given the fact that there isn't Antonio playing. Because if there was, then you would sort of be sort of have him as like the major threat. But with him out for the game, I'm
I
not
think
saying like the other players aren't equal threat. Like Ben Rama has obviously been in great form, so he's obviously one to watch out. Rice and Suchek being the tall figures that they are, they're going to be a threat in
Suchek
set
is the big
pieces.
one, isn't he? Since if this
Kazuma
was
played
last
today.
season,
He's
given our
he's like the Fellaini, like really in all
yeah, he's
aspects.
the new Fellaini, and given our weakness on set pieces last season, he's the one that would terrify you. Now, obviously, United haven't conceded a goal off of set piece this season so far, I don't think, and I
Yeah.
think we can credit the work of Eric Ramsey for that. But this is going to be his big test.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
Kazuma played today. I presume he will be their starting centre back. Also, for a false nine, we have a certain number 14 that you didn't buy in the summer.
Well, I mean, they lost, but yeah, I mean, let's go down to team predictions. I think.
Yeah,
Who's
I
your
think the
back
back
five?
five picks itself, right? De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Maguire, Shaw. Would anyone change that?
No,
Nah, I don't really think so. Well, then midfield, Minnesota.
Well, for me, I think I would go with Matic and Pogba. I thought Matic had a very good match at the weekend against Newcastle. I thought he offered us a lot, and I think the reason for that was Newcastle weren't pressing him. He had space and time to work, and I think that's going to be true of West Ham as well. With no Antonio, I expect him to sit very deep. So for me, Matic and Pogba is a perfectly functional midfield pivot for this match. What do you think, Darth?
yeah. Scott's back in training. I don't think he's fully fit to start. I can't wait for Scott McTominay to come back because evidently our midfield relies on him. But yeah, I think it'll be Pogba, Matic, maybe Fred, Pogba, but maybe.
I'm done with that experiment. I don't want to see Fred as the
Pogba
most
doesn't
defensive
work.
midfielder.
Okay.
For me, Fred basically needs either Matic or McTominay, usually better McTominay alongside him.
Yes.
He's not the best as the deepest midfielder.
Okay, so I'll go Matic, Pogba. I almost said Fred there. Ooh.
Vin, what about you?
For me, I mean, we don't really know what like where Scott is in terms of match fitness just yet. He's back in full training this week, so that's good news. But is he going to be fit enough in 2 days? We'll have to see. I have a feeling that he does, so I think he'll start. In my opinion, I think again, it's an estimation. So Scott, along with I guess McFred again. There we go.
Let's go.
All right.
To be fair, just to drag back about Fred, he had a very good game against Young Boys. Make no mistake about it.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
he
he
was
had a very
great
good
second
game.
half.
And him and Van de Beek as a partnership weren't that bad. I mean, I think they were pretty like decent. It wasn't as bad as we were expecting.
Yeah, it was working well because you had Van de Beek, who doesn't give up possession of the ball. He had like 96% pass completion. And then you had Fred, who doesn't know how to keep possession of the ball. So between the two of them, they balance each other out well.
So
Lovely.
if so does Van de Beek get a game in here?
I don't see it personally.
Or would you if it were up to you?
Matic Pogba for me.
Yeah. So front line, I'm gonna go Ronaldo up top, Bruno, Greenwood, and Sancho.
I agree. Exactly the same from me.
Yeah, same. I mean, Rashford isn't fully fit yet.
Oh wait, there was training pictures of Rashford earlier.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
were
just
training
partially
pictures,
training
but
though.
he's not in full training yet. He's just kind of lightly.
He's only gonna
Ah.
come back probably in October, I guess.
There was a thing saying he'll play a couple behind closed doors friendlies as well.
Yeah.
Potentially, but I think they're still saying that the timeline for him is more in about a month's time.
Yeah.
We should expect to see him maybe early October at best. His agent slash brother tweeted that he still was a couple of weeks away just today. So I wouldn't expect to see Marcus
looks
Rashford anywhere
hench.
near the team. He does.
He looks hench. Jesus.
Yeah, so definitely expect Mason to play because he didn't play in midweek.
I think
Sancho-
Greenwood's nailed the big question. I think from all, I don't think McTominay is going to be in it fitness wise. I think the big question all he's going to be asking himself is, do I go with Matic, Pogba, and Sancho, or do I go with Matic, Fred, and Pogba, with Pogba playing on the left wing? For me, I
Yeah.
think you need the extra attacker because West Ham will be sitting deep. So Matic, Fred, and Sancho is how I'd go. But I can see Ollie wanting the security blanket of Fred, given we gave up 2 cheap goals this midweek.
I don't see him dropping Sancho. Because every game Sancho's played, he's
getting better. Yeah.
He's absolutely
well
getting better. Yeah.
He was good against Young Boys before he had to come off. Like
Yeah.
it was ping. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, with just a couple of minutes left, let's do predictions, I guess. Vin, what do you think's going to happen?
Ooh, I'm gonna go for 2-0 United.
Ooh, optimistic.
Clean
You think
sheet
we're
this
going to
time
keep a
around.
clean
Yes.
sheet?
Being a bit confident.
Swear to God, if we keep a clean sheet, I will drink to that.
All right, Darth, what's your prediction then?
3-1. I think they'll score. I think it'll be like a Pablo Fornal screamer or something.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2-1 United. It's just, if you look at our record this season, with the exception of Wolves, if we're going to win a match, we have to score 2 goals. We give up 1 cheap goal every match, so I see no reason to expect that to change. I think probably like I took Ben Rahma out of my fantasy team, so I fully see him cutting in and scoring 1 against us. So yeah, I think we're all predicting wins though, and that's the good thing. Thank you everybody who's been listening so far. This has been the Red Devil's Den podcast. Go ahead and give us a follow on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video, retweet the tweets if you're on Twitter following us. You can follow us at the Red Devil's Den. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Peace.